That night, the road felt longer than any map could show. The asphalt stretched like a black tongue tearing through the forest, and the headlights of the old van barely managed to cut through the fog that had appeared out of nowhere. The radio crackled, trying to tune into something other than static or voices distorted beyond anything human. In the driver's seat, Roberto gripped the wheel tightly, his knuckles white. "This feels like the beginning of something that's gonna go really wrong," he muttered, trying to laugh. Behind him, Anna rolled her eyes and leaned against the window, feeling the cold glass against her forehead. It's an 80s summer camp. Cheesy soundtrack, sweaty people doing aerobics all day. What could possibly go wrong? No one answered. Maybe because they all knew, deep down, that plenty could go wrong. Besides Roberto and Anna, there were 4 others in the van. Mauro, who claimed he'd survived a fire as a child. Lydia, obsessed with slasher films and true crime. Jonas, too skinny with eyes too deep. And Bianca, who always seemed to be listening to something the others couldn't hear. They had been hired as counselors and staff for the newly reopened Camp Rising Sun, a fitness-themed summer camp by an isolated lake. The place had been shut down in 1984 for bureaucratic reasons, according to the colorful leaflet they'd all received, but Mauro had another version. "It wasn't bureaucracy," he muttered, tightening the bandana around his wrist. "It was the massacre." The van went silent. "Oh, here we go," Lydia perked up, leaning forward. "I knew this place had a past." "You always think it has a past," Anna said, "because it always does. Go on, Mauro. Tell it." He sighed and looked out the window, where the trees passed like overly stretched shadows. "I was little, but I remember the news. Everything was exaggerated, sensationalist, but some things—" He swallowed. "They said a group of teenagers came to this camp in '84. It was supposed to be fun, workouts, lake swimming, bonfires. But on the 3rd night, someone started killing. A deformed janitor? A masked psycho?" Lydia asked, almost hopeful. "That's where it gets weird. Every newspaper described a different killer. Some said a warped janitor. Others a military instructor. Others a woman with white eyes. And in every version, the people who died kept showing up afterward." Anna raised an eyebrow. "Showing up how?" "In photos, in witness statements, in the investigation. Someone always remembered one more person who wasn't on the original list, like the camp was adding people to the story." Bianca tightened her jacket. "You shouldn't be talking about this while we're driving there." "You accepted the job, didn't you?" Roberto tried to lighten the mood. 2 weeks of free lodging, food, salary, lake, bonfire. Worst case, a couple of coked-up idiots behind the cabins. The radio crackled again. For a moment, the static seemed to form a sentence. "You shouldn't be coming." Roberto turned the volume knob nervously. "This radio's trash." The road began to narrow, swallowed by forest. Old signs appeared here and there, rusted, pointing toward Camp Rising Sun, 5 kilometers, painted in bright retro colors. The air grew heavier the closer they got. Sticky, like the heat clung to the inside of their skin. "There it is," Jonas said. "The gate." The entrance stood open, with a fresh banner between wooden posts. "Welcome to the rebirth." Beyond the banner, however, everything looked far too old to have been renovated. The wooden camp sign was cracked, the painted sun flaking away. Some cabins looked hastily patched. The lake reflected only the dark, starless sky. When they stepped off the van, a man with an overly bright smile greeted them. "You must be the night group," he said with rehearsed enthusiasm. "I'm the camp director. Call me Mr. Barreto." He wore 80s workout clothes, tight pants, a tank top with the camp logo, leg warmers. Everything about him looked stuck in time. "We're excited about the reopening," he continued. "We were unfairly closed in the past, but now, rising sun will shine again." Anna glanced around. All she saw were shadows, old wood, and a lake that looked like it slept with one eye open. "You'll stay in cabin 7, Barreto explained. "Tomorrow we start early. 6 a.m. exercises. The first campers arrive this week. Until then, help me make everything perfect. We need this place to become unforgettable." He smiled too widely at the last word. As they walked toward the cabin, Mauro pulled Anna aside. "Did you notice?" he whispered. "He didn't say anything about what happened here." "I didn't ask," she answered. "Maybe it's better not to know." Cabin 7 smelled of old wood and mold, though the beds were neatly made with fresh, colorful sheets that clashed with the room's gloom. Lydia flopped onto a bunk. "I love this. It looks like a bad horror movie. If we die, at least it'll be thematic." "I refuse to die anywhere with leg warmers," Jonas grumbled, unpacking his Walkman and tapes. Bianca approached the window. She could see the lake and a small wooden pier. A lone lamp at the end looked burnt out. Something moved on the opposite shore. Bianca froze. For a second, she was absolutely certain someone stood there, watching the cabin. Tall, thin, wearing something on its head. A helmet, a mask, a hole. She blinked. The figure was gone. "Everything okay?" Anna asked. "I thought I saw someone outside," Bianca whispered. "Probably the security guard or something." "There is no security," Mauro said. "At least, not in the brochure." They ate dinner in the nearly empty cafeteria. Only them and Mr. Barreto. The long tables seemed to be waiting for more people. The windows reflected only the thick night outside. "You'll hear many stories about this place," Barreto said as he ate slowly. "People love turning tragedies into legends. But what happened here in '84 was exaggerated. Some accidents, reckless youth, sensationalist media." "And the murders?" Lydia asked bluntly. The man's smile faltered for a second. "When many die in one place, it's easy to invent killers. Killers sell newspapers. What doesn't sell is the boring truth. Violence, fear, and panicked people doing stupid things." Bianca felt he wasn't lying, but he wasn't telling the whole truth either. When they returned to the cabin, exhaustion weighed on them, yet sleep refused to come. On his bunk, Roberto stared at the wooden ceiling, listening to the faint groans of the structure. Somewhere in the forest, a metallic dragging noise echoed for a few seconds, then stopped. In another bunk, Anna stared at the ceiling too, thinking about all the decisions that had led her there. The job, the travel, the tight money. Everything had seemed simple back in the city. Now every shadow outside felt like an unresolved thought taking shape. Later that night, Bianca woke up with the unmistakable feeling that someone was sitting at the edge of her bed. She wasn't sure how long she had slept. The silence was heavy, pressing the air out of her lungs. Without moving, she looked from the corner of her eye. There was a shape there, human-sized, slumped shoulders, head lowered. Her heart hammered so fast she feared the thing would hear it. She tried to swallow but couldn't. Slowly she turned her head. The bed was empty. She sat up, trembling uncontrollably. At the same moment, a sound filled the cabin. Jonas's portable radio switched on by itself, blaring static. Everyone jumped. "What the hell?" Roberto groaned, sitting up. Jonas stumbled to the corner, tripping over backpacks. The switch was still set to off, but the radio stayed on, spitting static mixed with something else. A voice. Broken words, as if coming from very far away. "You've been here before. You've been here before. You've—" Jonas yanked the batteries out. The sound stopped. They exchanged uneasy glances, trying to find any explanation other than, "Something is deeply wrong with this place." "Must be interference," Roberto said, not believing his own words. "Radio tower, police frequency, whatever." Anna turned to Bianca. "What woke you up?" Bianca hesitated. I thought someone was sitting on my bed." Lydia laughed, but the laugh came out thin and shaky. "Road lag. Sleep. We'll laugh about this tomorrow." No one laughed. The next morning, the camp seemed livelier. The sun finally appeared, painting the cabins gold. Too bright, too artificial. The lake shimmered as if it had never reflected anything but blue sky. But even by day, something felt wrong. Old loudspeakers mounted on the posts played upbeat aerobics music, but occasionally, between songs, a fragment leaked through, a scream, a muffled cry, a broken phrase. "Go back to the cabin. Please go back." Only they seemed to hear it. Mr. Barreto walked around smiling, whistle around his neck, as if nothing were out of place. Their official duties began. Roberto and Mauro were sent to inspect the workout area. Rusty dumbbells, bars, ropes. Jonas was assigned to the TV sound room, packed with VHS tapes and dusty equipment. Lydia and Anna were told to prepare the cabins for incoming campers. Bianca got the worst assignment, cleaning the activity hall at the far end of the camp. "You'll like it there," Barreto said, smiling too wide. "It's where the best memories were made." When she entered the building, she understood he wasn't being sincere. The hall was large, with wooden floors, a wall of cracked mirrors, and a low stage at the back. It smelled of sweat, alcohol, and something too metallic to be just rust. A faded banner on the wall read, "No pain, no fear, no limits." The further she walked, the more it felt like this wasn't a hall, it was an altar. Near the stage, she found markings that didn't look like ordinary dirt. Deep scratches, curved as if something heavy had been dragged with force. On one of the columns, words carved with a knife. "There is no end." Meanwhile, in the TV room, Jonas turned on a VCR to test a promotional tape he found. He expected cheesy retro footage. Instead, the tape opened with static, then the logo of Camp Rising Sun, cheerful music, a narrator talking about fitness, energy, and new friendships. The image flickered. The soundtrack vanished. The screen went black. Then a different scene appeared. It was the same hall Jonas was standing in, but in 1984. The footage was grainy, but he could see teenagers sweating through an aerobics class, the instructor on the stage. No music played, but their bodies moved in rhythm. Something was wrong with the movements. They were too sharp, too fast, as if someone kept pressing fast forward and rewind on the same clip. Their faces weren't smiling. They were grimacing. Jonas leaned closer. In the middle of the routine, one girl collapsed as if her strings had been cut. She hit the floor hard, no scream, only a muffled sound. The others kept moving, stepping near her, occasionally on her, as if they didn't see her at all. The instructor kept smiling, but his smile wasn't human. Too wide, too stiff. The corners of his mouth stretched almost to his ears. His skin looked like rubber pulled too tight. The video cut abruptly. Blue screen. Jonas stood up, trembling, and removed the tape. Written in marker on the side. Final training. Do not play. That night, Mr. Barreto announced a first integration event at the bonfire, even though no campers had arrived yet. "It is important that you feel the energy of the place," he said, smiling, his teeth too white, "before the guests arrive." They sat around the fire. Flames crackled and threw sparks into the dark sky. The surrounding trees seemed to lean inward, as if trying to listen. "We used to do this with all the youth," Barreto said. "Scary stories, confessions, rites of passage. The world out there is chaotic. But here, everything makes sense. Here, every fear has a purpose." "What purpose?" Anna asked. "To transform you." Bianca felt her skin crawl. Far away, the loudspeakers crackled. A slow, distorted melody seeped through. A female voice, warped and stretched, singing as if begging for help. Lydia looked around, startled. "Did you hear that?" The music glitched. "Music?" Barreto frowned. "Nothing is playing." Suddenly, Mauro stiffened, staring at something behind Barreto. "There's someone over there," he whispered. They all turned. In the tree line, dark silhouettes stood still. 1, 2, 3, more. Motionless, watching. Some wore 80s workout clothing, others ordinary shirts. One had a white t-shirt stained with something dark, though from the distance it was impossible to tell what. Their faces were swallowed in shadow. "Oh," Barreto relaxed, as if remembering something trivial. "You're seeing our residents." "Residents," Jonas repeated, voice cracking. "Our memories," Barreto said. He stood up, grabbed a burning stick from the fire, and raised it high. The flame illuminated the figures more clearly. Something was very, very wrong. Their bodies were broken. Some had necks twisted at impossible angles, like they'd been hanged and then forced upright again. Others had limbs bent the wrong way, skin stitched crudely. One had a torn shoulder, dark flesh exposed. But the worst part, the faces. They had no eyes. Where eyes should be, there were deep black pits. A liquid darkness shimmered inside, reflecting firelight like oil. "They were the first to believe in the purpose of this place," Barreto said proudly. "And they remain here, always, helping the camp stay alive." Bianca stood abruptly, shaking. This is a joke, right?" The figures did not move, until one of them stepped forward. A loud crack, like bones snapping, echoed through the clearing. "You came because you needed something," Barreto continued, ignoring their rising panic. "Money, escape, a fresh start. Here, you will gain more than that." "We're gonna gain a collective psychosis," Lydia whispered. "You'll gain a place in the cycle." The figures moved closer. Anna felt her knees buckle. In the third row of that grotesque audience, she recognized a face. Impossible. A fraction of a face, the jawline, the tilt of the head. Her brother. Dead for years in a car crash, but standing there, among the memories of the camp. "No," she sobbed. "No, no, no." Roberto held her shoulders. "You're imagining it. Calm down." But inside him, something cracked too, because he recognized someone as well, deeper in the crowd, wearing a hospital uniform with the same small scar on the lower lip as his father. The father who had died in the ICU while Roberto stayed home, too afraid to say goodbye. "How are they here?" Jonas asked, voice shaking. "Is this some kind of illusion?" Barreto watched them like a teacher admiring students who finally solved the equation. "The world is not a line," he said. "It is a tape. We scratch it, cut it, rewind it. Some places can hold pieces. Pieces of people, pieces of time. You were drawn here because you left things behind. Fear, guilt, lives you thought had ended." He touched the burning stick to his chest. "Here, everything sticks, and the more who arrive, the stronger the fabric becomes. Every reopening, the camp rebirths better." "This is insane," Mauro whispered. "This is—" His breath caught, because among the figures stood a child, a thin boy, same hair, same scar on the forehead, same empty stare. It was him at 8 years old, the day of the fire that almost killed him. Except the boy wasn't burned. He was whole, just hollow. Mauro stepped forward. "This is a trick, a trick." "Ah," the child smiled, but the smile didn't fit the face. It was the smile of the instructor from the VHS tape. Stretched, taut, wrong. The forest groaned around them. The air thickened, heavy enough to choke. Inside Bianca's skull, something snapped. A high-pitched noise like tape rewinding. For a moment, she saw everything distorted. The bonfire spinning. People around it, but in different clothes. Same faces, different decades. 1984, 1985, 1986. Now, returning. Always returning. Always taking the job. Always arriving at the gate. Always pretending not to know. "We're not the first version," she whispered. Barreto smiled, pleased. "Now you're starting to see." He tossed the burning stick back into the fire. The flames burst high, illuminating the figures completely. They weren't memories. They were bodies. Rotting yet standing, some missing jaws, some with gaping holes in the chest, some sewn back together. And inside those dark eye sockets, something moved. "You have a choice," said Barreto. "You can resist, run, and the camp will find you again. Another job, another city, another year. Or you can accept the purpose, help keep the cycle steady." Jonas stood abruptly. "Screw you, and screw this camp." He turned and started down the path toward the road. "Jonas," Anna called. "Wait," Lydia shouted, but her voice cracked with fear. Barreto didn't stop him. "You can go after him," he said calmly. "The road is always open. Always." The word "always" made Bianca's stomach twist. She stood. "We're not staying to feed this place." "You already feed it," Barreto replied. "You have for a long, long time." They ran after Jonas. The bonfire behind them seemed to grow, the flames stretching higher as if trying to follow. The eyeless figures in the forest didn't move, but the sensation of being watched intensified with every step. They reached the camp gate. It was open, just like before. The road stretched ahead, dark and fogged, but there, Jonas was already several meters ahead, walking fast, almost running. "Jonas, wait!" Mauro shouted. He didn't look back. The van was still parked by the entrance. Roberto fumbled with the keys, trembling, trying to jam them into the ignition. The engine didn't respond, not even a click. Come on," he yelled, twisting the key again. Nothing. On the road, Jonas kept moving, but something was wrong. His steps were identical. Too identical. Each arm swing was the same. Each footfall landed in the exact same rhythm, like a recorded loop. "Jonas!" Bianca screamed. He did not react. Fog rose from the asphalt, swallowing the white stripes. The sky over the road looked darker than the sky over the camp, like it wasn't the same sky at all. Anna stepped past the gate. "If it's an illusion, we'll pull him back." She reached the point where Jonas should have been, but there was no one. The road was empty, no footprints, no sounds, nothing, only fog and a distant noise, like tape spinning. "He's gone," Anna whispered. Bianca turned slowly. Camp Rising Sun was exactly where it had been. The posts, the cabins, the bonfire in the distance. But something had changed. The trees around the camp seemed closer, crowding in, and the wooden welcome sign now had something carved into it. 1984, 1989, 1995, 2002, 2016. The dates stretched like scratches, and as they watched, a new date began carving itself into the wood, the grooves forming silently, as if cut by invisible hands. 1989 again. "I think," Bianca whispered, voice breaking. "We didn't leave." Roberto dropped the keys. Far away in the middle of the camp, music began playing again, a warped tape, a shredded voice. No pain, no fear, no limits. No pain, no fear, no limits, no pain. The loudspeakers crackled. From somewhere inside the woods, a laugh echoed, metallic, distorted, like someone had recorded a laugh and played it backward. The lights in the camp flickered. For a split second, everything went black. When the lamps came back on, the camp wasn't empty anymore. There were dozens of people in the yard, teenagers, counselors, groups in clothes from different decades. 1980s, neon aerobics outfits, 1990s flannel and denim, 2000s bright sportswear, early 2000s camp t-shirts. They walked, talked, joked, going about their day, as if the camp were full, and none of them saw the group standing by the gate. "Are you seeing this?" Mauro asked, voice tiny. A girl sprinted past, laughing, carrying a plate of food. She ran through Bianca, not past her, through her, like Bianca was smoke. "We're," Lydia swallowed hard, "we're the new recording." In the cafeteria window, a reflection appeared. Not their current reflection. Versions of them, younger, older, dead, alive, flickering over one another like overlapping VHS frames. Roberto heard a whisper directly in his ear, warm and intimate. "You've tried to run before." He spun around. No one was there. Mr. Barreto appeared beside them, as if he had simply walked over, calm, unbothered. "Welcome to the rebirth," he said softly, without a hint of breathlessness. "Camp Rising Sun thanks you for another season." The eyeless figures at the tree line seemed to smile. At the lake, a small light blinked on at the end of the pier. A signal, a summons, a play button on a tape that never ends, and somewhere between the gate and the road, the spot where Jonas had disappeared, the sound of footsteps began again, always the same distance away, always the same rhythm, as if he were walking out of the camp, forever, without ever actually leaving. The footsteps echoed steadily, always at the same pace, always at the same spot, as if Jonas were stuck in an infinite loop somewhere just out of sight. A recording walking toward freedom, never reaching it. The fog on the road thickened, swallowing the last trace of moonlight, and a low humming vibrated through the trees. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't an insect. It was the unmistakable rumble of magnetic tape turning, cycling through its reels. Anna took a shaky step backward. "We're trapped," she whispered. "This place, it's replaying us." Bianca hugged herself, teeth chattering. "Not replaying," she corrected. "Recording. We're the new footage now." Behind them, the camp grew brighter. More people appeared. Groups jogging, counselors stretching, teenagers laughing. others crying near the lake. Scenes from different years layered over each other, overlapping like ghosts of time. Every now and then a figure flickered, their edges glitching, skipping a frame, like someone hitting fast forward through reality. None of them looked human for more than a moment. Lydia pointed to a group near the training area. Look, there, in the thick shadows of the trees, the eyeless figures watched silently, their dark sockets reflecting the artificial glow of the camp. Some of them moved their heads in the exact same motion, over and over. A repeated tilt, a loop. They're stuck, Mauro murmured. Just like Jonas. Bianca shook her head. No, they're further along the tape. We're just starting. The loudspeakers cracked violently, and a voice, male, warped, collapsing through distortion, filled the entire camp. Rewind, rewind, rewind. Lights flickered, the trees shuddered, the lake rippled even without wind. The whole camp seemed to breathe. Mr. Barreto stepped forward, hands behind his back, posture relaxed and impossibly calm amidst chaos. You don't understand, he said gently. You're thinking like people who still belong to only one timeline, but you don't anymore. He gestured toward the cabins, the forest, the lake, the sky. This place holds every version of you, every fear you brought, every decision you almost made, every mistake you keep replaying in your nightmares. He smiled, a small, serene smile this time. The camp doesn't trap you, it keeps you, it preserves you, because you were already broken long before you arrived. Roberto clenched his fists. No, we leave, today, right now. Barreto chuckled. You already tried. He pointed at the road, at the fog where Jonas had vanished. And that was just this version of you. There are others still running, others still screaming, others still dying, and others who accepted what is expected of them. Bianca's breath trembled. What is expected of us? To join the cycle, to let the tape roll as it must. A sudden crack, like a giant tree snapping, echoed through the dark. The eyeless figures took one synchronized step forward. One step. Just one. But it felt like the entire forest had jumped closer. Anna grabbed Lydia's hand. We can't stay here. Barreto tilted his head. You can run, but the path will only take you back to where you started. Every road leads here. Every year leads here. Every version of you leads here. The camp's lights flared white-hot. The bonfire roared upward, flames twisting into shapes, faces, silhouettes, memories, all screaming silently. The loudspeakers played again, now with the choir of warped voices. You've been here before. You'll be here again. You never left. You never leave. Bianca covered her ears, but the voices were inside her head. The lake's light, the one at the end of the pier, glowed brighter, turning from white to deep red. The water churned as if something beneath the surface were waking up. The footsteps looped again behind them, Jonas's endless march. The eyeless figures advanced another step. Barreto whispered, Welcome to your place in the cycle. And then everything froze. The sound, the trees, the people, even the flames, paused mid-sway, motionless like a frame stuck on a screen. For a brief moment the world was perfectly silent. Then, click, the unmistakable sound of a tape being stopped. The camp swallowed them in absolute darkness. Another click, and a new sound. Play. The world lit back up, but they weren't at the gate anymore. They were back inside the camp. Different clothes, different haircuts, different ages. The cycle had already started over, and the date burned onto the wooden sign outside now read 1989, new recording. Far away, near the lake, Jonas's looping footsteps continued, forever exiting, never gone, and the tape rolled on.